A heavy rain washed over London that night, whispering against the windows of Dorian Gray's house. Inside, candles flickered on polished glass, their light trembling like guilty thoughts. Dorian moved through the rooms slowly, every step echoing in silence. Upstairs, behind a locked door, the portrait waited. He uncovered it once more. The colors had darkened further. The smile that once glowed with innocence was now twisted, almost mocking him. He touched the edge of the canvas, his fingers trembling. "Why do you look at me like that?" he whispered. The painted eyes did not move, but he could feel them watching. Dorian turned away, shivering. He called for a servant and ordered a carpenter to bring a heavy screen, tall enough to hide a sin. "This room will be locked," he said. "No one must enter it, ever." When they left, Dorian stood alone before the covered portrait. "You will guard my secret," he murmured. "You will age for me and bear every sin I commit." Then he smiled, a soft, strange smile that didn't belong to a man, but to something beyond mercy. In the weeks that followed, Dorian surrounded himself with beauty, rare perfumes, ancient books, music that sounded like memories. He tried to drown his thoughts in art and pleasure, but at night he would sometimes hear a faint creak upstairs, as if the portrait were breathing. He told himself it was only the wind. But deep down, he knew the truth. The soul never sleeps, it only waits. Years passed, soft, silent, and merciless London changed. Faces changed, seasons came and went. But Dorian Gray remained the same. His beauty was untouched by time. The same golden hair, the same clear eyes, the same flawless smile that had once deceived the world people, whispered that he had discovered some secret, a science of youth, a miracle. But the truth was far darker. In a locked room upstairs, the secret grew older every day. The portrait had become a map of corruption, a twisted reflection of every pleasure, every cruelty, every whispered sin. Dorian spent his nights surrounded by beauty, rare art, foreign music, and scents that reminded him of lost ages. He sought sensations, not peace. Pleasure had become his only prayer, and art, his only forgiveness. Yet sometimes, in the quiet hours before dawn, he would wake suddenly, his heart pounding as if someone had spoken his name in the dark. Then he would think of the portrait, waiting behind the locked door, and a coldness would fill his soul. "I am beautiful," he would whisper to himself, and is everything. But even as he spoke the words, a faint sadness lingered, a shadow beneath the perfection. For deep down, Dorian knew what every immortal must one day learn. Time may spare the body, but it always finds the soul. It was a winter night, cold, silent, and heavy with fog. Dorian Gray sat in his library, reading by the soft light of a single lamp. The fire burned low. He looked as young as ever, too young for the stories whispered about him. Suddenly the door opened. Basil Hallward's old friend, one of the few who still dared to visit, entered quietly. "Dorian," he said, "I haven't seen you in almost 20 years. And yet, you look exactly the same." Dorian smiled, but something in that smile was strained, a flicker of unease. "Time has been kind," he said lightly. "Some people are simply fortunate." "Fortunate?" the man repeated softly. "Or cursed?" The words hung between them like smoke. The visitor looked around the room, at the art, the shadows, the silence. "There are terrible stories about you, Dorian. I tried not to believe them. But I saw something in your eyes tonight." Dorian's hand tightened around his glass. His voice was calm, too calm. "What did you see?" I saw a man who hasn't aged a day since before I had children. I saw beauty without mercy. For a long moment, they stared at each other, one with pity, the other with dread. "Leave," Dorian said quietly. "You don't know what you're speaking of." But when the man turned to go, Dorian's reflection caught his eye. And for just a second, he thought he saw something else behind that perfect face, a flicker of hatred and a trace of the portrait's cruel smile. He left in silence. Dorian poured himself another drink, hands trembling, heart pounding with the old familiar fear. Upstairs behind the locked door, the portrait's eyes seemed to glow faintly in the dark, as if it had been listening. And for the first time in years, Dorian whispered to himself, "Perhaps it's not only art that lives forever,